Hereby I open this academic ceremony in which Mr. Leatemia will defend his academic thesis, Strengthening Student-Centeredness in Teachers in Problem-Based Learning. I welcome you and wish you lots of success together with your parnims. I also welcome your supervisors, Professor Dolmans, Dr. Susilo and Dr. Kompen, also the members of the opposition, whom you will meet later, and of course your guests and family and friends and colleagues on site and online. But before we start the opposition, I give you the opportunity to tell your friends and family what you have done in your thesis.
Thank you, Prorector. Good afternoon, everyone. Dear Prorector, Assessment Committee, my supervisors, my teachers-in-chief, colleagues, and my family. For the next 15 minutes, I'd like to present the overview of my thesis entitled Strengthening Student-Centeredness in Teachers in Problem-Based Learning. Many medical schools worldwide, including those in Asia, switched their educational systems from teacher-centered teaching strategy that primarily focuses on transmitting knowledge and skills in conventional lecture-based approach to problem-based learning that aligns with the learning principles of constructive, self-directed, collaborative, and contextual learning. Those medical schools rely on PBL as a student-centered teaching strategy to stimulate students to actively engage in their learning, construct their knowledge, collaborate with other students, and take a deep learning approach. In Indonesia context, for example, all the medical schools implemented PBL in their curricula when the Indonesian government introduced its legislations in 2006. Before its implementations, teacher-centered teaching and learning processes had served as the norm for decades. In addition, Indonesia has a strong hierarchical culture where teachers are often viewed as people of higher status and source of knowledge. This strong hierarchical culture and the teacher-centered approaches to education led the medical school to implement hybrid curricula where PBL is combined with conventional lectures. To support its implementations, most of the medical schools conduct formal PBL training for teachers to work as tutors. And the majority of the training focus on developing teachers' competencies. However, in its implementations, many teachers still tend to persist with teacher-centered teaching. In tutorial sessions, for example, they continue intervening in the discussion process by giving mini lectures or restricting discussion topics. These teachers usually consider themselves a source of knowledge and feel responsible for students' learning. This implies that faculty development that focuses on teachers' competencies is sufficiently succeeds in supporting teachers to shift towards more student-centered teaching practices. Based on these problems, we raise the main questions of our studies. How do we strengthen student-centeredness in teachers in PBL settings? To answer these questions, we like to identify factors that influence teaching behavior, the needs analysis of faculty development, and the design and evaluation of faculty development initiatives. Kothagen presented a theory of the onion model, which describes how various aspects influence teaching behaviors. The model illustrates the interrelations of the layers. The outer layers, environments, behavior, competencies, influence the inner layers, belief, identity, and missions, and vice versa. Beliefs are what teachers believe about the situation they are dealing with, such as teaching and learning values to students learning in small group discussions. For example, a belief that PBL curricula enhance students' deep learning. Identity refers to how teachers see themselves in teacher professional roles. For example, identities to see themselves as having subject matter, didactic, and pedagogical expertise. Missions refers to what inspire teachers and give meaning and significance to teachers' work. It can be defined as teachers' ethical and spiritual commitments, which motivate them to pursue their passion and achieve their ideals. This onion model implies that teachers' perspective on all the layers or the aspects should be coherent and aligned with student-centeredness to show adequate and effective student-centered teaching behavior. When one or more of these aspects does not reflect student-centeredness, teachers may struggle to perform well in PBL. Information about these struggles among groups of teachers may provide valuable input for faculty development programs that tailor to teachers' needs, particularly the inner aspects of teachers. Based on these onion model principles, we conducted our research into two phases. Phase 1 is to measure and analyze teachers' perspective on those 6 aspects to identify the needs of teachers for faculty development initiatives. And then phase 2 is to develop a design and evaluation of a faculty development initiatives. In phase 1, we conducted study 1 to 3. Study 1 is to measure and analyze teachers' perspective on the 6 aspects. Study 2 is to explore teachers' specific educational needs for faculty development from teacher profiles. And study 3 is to identify situations that influence teachers' inner aspects. In phase 2, we conducted study 4 to design and evaluate faculty development initiatives that addresses and stimulates teachers to reflect on their inner aspects. In study 1, we need an instrument to measure and analyze teachers' perspective on the 6 aspects. We analyzed a survey data of the SCPT questionnaire that consisted 6 subscales and 44 items. A total of 540 invited teachers from 20 medical schools in Indonesia completed the survey. The participants were full-time teachers and had been actively tutoring PBL sessions for over a year. As a result, we performed the confirmatory factor analysis for the internal validation, and we found that the SCPT was acceptable fit for the 6 subscales measured by 19 items. Moreover, in the external validation, we found that teachers who participated in more PBL training showed significantly higher student-centered perspectives. So we concluded that the SCPT is a reliable and valid instrument to measure teaching perspective on the 6 aspects. In study 2, we explored faculty development needs from teachers' profile based on a survey data of the SCPT questionnaire from 540 participants using latent profile analysis. We also analyzed the differences between the amount of PBL training experience and the profiles. We identified 6 teacher profiles that resemble the diffusion of innovations theorist classifications. They are innovators, early adopters, early majority 1, early majority 2, late majority, and laggards. The early adopters, for example, had a highly student-centered perspective on their inner aspects and behavior, but only a moderately student-centered view on the environments and competencies. We assumed that these teachers had more student-centered behavior and inner aspects despite they encountered few environmental obstacles in adopting and innovations. The laggard had the lowest degree of student-centeredness on all the aspects. We named this teacher as laggard because we assumed that they were reluctant to change their teacher-centered perspective and too skeptic about their environment. We also found that the amount of PBL training teachers received did not differ significantly across profiles, and more PBL training was not associated with a higher score for student-centeredness when the aspect in each profile considered separately. So our conclusions in study 2 that current faculty development programs are not sufficiently tailored to teachers' needs. In study 3, we conducted a descriptive qualitative study to identify situations that influence teachers' inner aspects. A total of 18 invited teachers from 2 medical schools participated in 3 focus group discussions. They had been actively involved in PBL tutoring for over a year. For the data analysis, we conducted a thematic analysis to describe and interpret the data. As a result, we found that several situations that encourage and discourage teachers from adopting more student-centered belief entities and missions came from the times when they were in medical schools, from their present and day-to-day teaching experiences and their clinical duties. For examples, one participant said about the situation that discouraged a shift to student-centeredness. There are students who are silent, passive, and apathetic in the discussions. It is not different from the students in the conventional curriculum. Sorry. What matters to them is being present in class and getting grades. The situation in which students were passive in the discussion, barely prepared for tutorials, or had poor exam scores strengthens teachers' belief that a student-centered approach might not work in their context. However, another participant said about the situation that encouraged a shift to student-centeredness. When I was in college, the lectures still used as teacher-centered methods. When I became a teacher in the PBL curriculum, I saw an improvement in students' understanding, and students were more independent, proactive, and collaborative. The situations in which teachers experienced that PBL students were actively engaged in PBL and clinical practice encourage teachers' belief about teacher-centered teaching. These findings are in line with the theoretical framework of the onion model that outer aspects influence the inner aspects and vice versa. In Study 4, we design and evaluate the faculty development workshop to enhance teachers' awareness of the challenges and opportunities for developing student-centered belief, identity, and missions. A short format workshop centered around critical incidents was designed using the theoretical principle of contextual, collaborative, reflective, and multi-level learning. The design workshop consisted of 3 elements. The first is identification and formations, the second is tension explorations, and the third is actualization plan. In the first elements, the participants work individually by filling out their SCPT questionnaire to reflect their student-centered teaching perspective on their inner aspects. And then participants got a brief lecture on inner aspect formation. In the second elements, the participants work in a small group to reflect on critical incidents. In the third element, each participant reflected on a personal challenge regarding their student-centered inner aspects and actualization plan to solve the challenges to be more student-centered. Mixed methods were used to evaluate the workshop's effectiveness in raising awareness of teachers' student-centered inner aspects, such as using the SPT questionnaire before and after the workshop, an evaluation survey and group interview immediately after the workshop. The evaluation revealed that the participants came to realize the importance of student-centered inner aspect in adopting a student-centered approach to teaching. Participants felt that particular environmental examples duties in clinic hindered them from developing student-centered inner aspects. And the workshop inspired them to change their teaching behavior and optimize their roles as facilitators in PBL. In conclusions, back to the main research questions, how do we strengthen student-centeredness in teachers in PBL settings? This thesis provides insight into increasing teachers' awareness of the importance of developing student-centeredness by focusing not only on their behavior and competencies, but also on their inner aspects, belief, identity, and missions, as well as environment in which they work. For its practical implications, this thesis suggested teachers and institutions to use the SCPT questionnaire. The SCPT questionnaire may help teachers and institutions see all the aspects that contribute to their teaching perspectives. Moreover, the SCPT could be used to identify the teachers' profiles and help institutions analyze teachers' student-centeredness on the 6 aspects. The findings might inform institutions to conduct a faculty development program for teachers' needs to enhance teachers' development of student-centered inner aspects. Meanwhile, other teachers with higher student-centered inner aspects may help the participants strengthen student-centeredness through peer coaching and mentoring. For faculty developers or institutions, we recommend that institutions use this workshop design to enhance teachers' awareness of the challenges and opportunities for developing student-centered inner aspects, enhancing teachers' awareness of developing their student-centered inner aspects in faculty developments, is expected to change their teaching practice and impact students' learning, but further research is needed. Institutions can use the critical incident in study 3 as vignettes for participants to reflect on their inner aspects and discuss them in small groups or adapt them to their local context. Moreover, this workshop also can be offered as part of a longitudinal faculty development programs that has an intended objective beyond raising awareness. Thank you. Back to the prorector.
Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. The opposition will be opened by the chair of your assessment committee, Professor Driessen. He's professor of medical education at the University of Maastricht.
Selamat atas penyelesaian buku. Buku ini bagus dan penting sekali. Saya senang saya bisa membaca buku ini. Selamat untuk Prof. Diana, Prof. Astrid en Prof. Boukje. Mungkin lebih baik saya berbicara bahasa Inggris, tapi banyak orang tidak mengerti bahasa Indonesia. Okay, I will continue in English. But my first question is about the onion model, which is lapisan kulit bawang in bahasa Indonesia. And you use that model for your teachers, but I want to use it to discuss with yourself your mission as a researcher. So you've worked hard and developed yourself as a researcher. Can you tell me what has inspired you all those years? So what was your mission? So my question is, during all those years as a researcher, during the pandemic, so it was not always easy, what was your mission? What has inspired you? What was meaningful?
Yeah, thank you, highly esteemed opponents. Actually, my research started from my master thesis that I found in the research that many students couldn't do already to be self-directed learners. And when I searched further about the reasons, they found that some of the problems come from the teachers. And also from our daily practice as a teachers, we also found that many teachers still struggles with implementations of the student-centeredness. From this experience and research, I thought that it is important to change the teachers first, because many studies used students as their subject of their research, but for the teachers it's rare. And from the previous references, we also found that it's rare to look at the inner aspect of teachers. So from these points, my mission is how to continue my calling to improve the implementation of student-centeredness in our faculty, especially related to problem-based learning, because problem-based learnings have been implemented for several years in our faculty. So my calling is how to improve teachers' behaviors from their inner aspect, because what we have done nowadays focus on teachers' competencies.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, the implementation of PBL didn't go by itself, didn't work by itself, and there's a lot of focus on the students, how they do, but less on teachers. So that was one of the things that drive you. Were there also things related to the research that have your experiences or competences that you have developed, maybe presentation, your work, that has had influence on your mission?
Yeah, from my research, I found the new insights that the inner aspect of teachers are important to be developed. So yeah, I think from researchers in this point, I want to use this model, especially for the workshop that I found, that I developed to develop our teachers' student-centered behavior.
Yes, and to continue about the onion model, Fred Korthagen, he's the one who developed it. He's a colleague of Lisbeth Kesters, or former, he's retired. It's the Dutch onion. And you know, I don't know if you know Dutch onions, can be the size of a tennis ball. And they are big. So they have a lot of layers. And an onion in Indonesia is maybe the size of a ball in a pinball machine. It's very small, isn't it? So I wondered, is that model developed by somebody from a very individualistic society like the Netherlands? Can you transfer that to Indonesia, which is more a collective society? Can you reflect on that, please?
Yeah, based on our findings, that many teachers realize the importance of student-centeredness, and they realize that their competencies to know about how to facilitate students not enough from their experience to be student-centered behavior. From the workshop, they realized that many factors influence them, and several aspects influence them, such as the belief. For example, they believe that their students is not enough competencies to be to self-directed or by themselves, self-independently, and they thought that students know nothing, and they need to transfer their knowledge. This, for example, and then their missions also. Many of teachers realize that many of work that they have to do during their work as teachers, so it's not impossible to facilitate students one by one or indirectly. But I think all the aspects can be used in our country in collective.
So either a large onion or a small onion, both work for you.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to give the word back to the pro-rector. Thanks a lot for your answers.
Thank you, Professor Driesen, for your position. Now we come to the following opponent, also a member of the assessment committee. That's Professor Sumantri, Professor of Medical Education in the universities in Indonesia. She's online. Thank you for coming all the way from Indonesia, albeit online, but the University of Maastricht is always glad to have guests from abroad.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and the honor to be a part of the assessment committee. I would like to congratulate the candidate to have reached this stage. I have my first question. In the last slide, the candidate recommend a longitudinal faculty development program. I would like for you to elaborate what kind of longitudinal and systematic faculty development program that you can recommend for medical schools throughout Indonesia to increase the student-centeredness within the teachers, especially during the PBL. Because what we understand about faculty development program, mostly they are directed to improve competencies, performance in delivering tutorials to be tutors of PBL. But we're dealing about the beliefs, the identity and mission, and it is something very internal and individualized. So what kind of longitudinal and systematic faculty development program that you recommend for the institutions?
Thank you, highly esteemed opponent. Longitudinal faculty development that I thought is about how to evaluations and using some kinds of follow-up of the workshop that we have done before, such as the observations of the teachers that have joined the workshops, The target is how to change teacher behavior. The long goals of this workshop. So we have to look at their performance, and we need some elements such as students to give feedback for the teachers, and then peer observations, observer from the teachers that have high student-centeredness. Like in our findings, we use like early adopters and innovators teachers that have high inner aspect, student-centeredness inner aspects to help the teachers, to assist the teachers. So not only in the formal faculty development, but informal, like peer coaching and for peer mentors that we can use for the longitudinal faculty development. And also in evaluations, we know that about 62% of the teachers implement what they have received from the faculty development immediately, and around 44% of the workshops can be implemented after 6 months, and 40% after 1 year. So I think we have to evaluate it regularly to remind them, to make them realize the importance of the student-centeredness.
Okay, thank you very much, Promovendus. The second question for me is about the meaning. So in your dissertation, you study the beliefs, identity and mission. But the recent studies also show how the well-being of teachers also influence their performance and their sustenance in terms of, delivering the teaching, supervising, providing feedback for students. So in terms of your findings related to the beliefs, the identity, and mission, how you think these three will relate to the meaning of becoming teachers, how they influence and how they relate to each other between the three the inner aspects, the beliefs, the identity, and mission, and also the meaning. How do they relate? Because there are studies that showing that one of the weakest well-being aspect of teachers is their meaning. But that could be like the very strong point that we can reinforce to help teachers to attain a more increased meaning, and then it will help them to improve their performance. What do you think of the relationships of those aspects?
Yeah, thank you, highly esteemed opponent. According to Kort-Hagen-Sonnier models, all of the to be an effective tutor to facilitate students in PBL, they should align each other as student-centeredness, student-centered aspects. So to be a good doctor, good tutors, they have to have student-centered perspective on all these 6 aspects, such as environments. They should perceive that their leader or institutions support them to facilitate students in PBL and evaluate also. And then for the competencies, they perceive that they have competence in the facilitation, work as tutors, and believe also they can believe that their students can actively engage in the discussions and self-directed learning, and also identity. They not only focus on them as expert, subject matter expertise, and missions. They're calling also as good teachers. So all them to be a good teachers. If some of the aspects is not related to the student-centeredness, I believe that the students not comfort or not effective to be a teachers. They will struggle with the PBL.
So in other words, you're saying that all of the layers of the onion model, that those are the ones that forms the meaning of becoming the PBL tutors for the students.
Very short answer.
Thank you very
please.
much for the
Very short
the
answer.
answers.
Yeah, they should in lines.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm satisfied with that.
Thank you very much, Professor Sumantri, for your opposition. Now we come to the following opponent, who's also a member of the assessment committee. That's Professor Kester. She's Professor of Instructional Design in the University of Maastricht.
Thank you, Pro-Rector. Dear candidate, oh, I have to talk into the microphone. First, my compliments to you and your team for the work you defend here today. In your thesis, you present a set of coherent studies that require different methodologies. I think this shows your versatility as a researcher. It is also good to see that the majority of your work already reached the scientific community and practice. So as you testify in your impact section, you try to impact science and practice through dissemination to the scientific audience or to the practitioners, and teaching with the workshops you designed. So what I would like to discuss with you today are the activities like co-creation and participation, because these activities are often named to increase impact of research. They are also in line with open science that advocates open proposals or community engagement in your research. So the idea is that important stakeholders are involved in every important step during the research. So from ideation, articulating the research questions, to, of course, sharing the knowledge or communicate the knowledge to a general audience or a scientific audience. So what I was wondering about, because you do not explicitly mention that in your impact section, could you tell me something about how you facilitated co-construction of a co-creation or participation along the way during your studies?
Thank you, highly esteemed opponents, for your compliments and questions. For the co-creations during my studies, we involve our teachers to participate the faculty development that they need. For examples, like in the study 1 and 2, we look for their perspective on the student-centeredness for the 6 aspects of the onion model, and we found that they not only have challenges on their competencies, but also on their inner aspects. And we searched more about what the problems on what's the aspect, the situation that they adopt the student-centeredness or hinder. So from these points, we involve the teachers, and we found that they have problems and need to develop their inner aspects, and then we use their perspective, their perceptions on the situation that encourage and discourage student-centeredness in the faculty development that we develop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then it is also coincides with using the teachers or using as participants, right? Because they were object to your studies. But for example, in designing the workshop, you said, okay, we designed the workshop, but who is we in that respect? What role did the teachers or stakeholders took there?
Yeah, we involve several teachers to look at the workshop we designed before we implement it, and we also consult to the our teachers who have master and doctor in medical education to look at the workshops, and they give many input suggestions for the implementations, and after we get the input and revise, finally we implement the workshop. So in the workshop we involve regular teachers and also teachers who have master in medical educations.
And okay, that's really nice. And in what way do you think that might have aided the impact of your research, involving the teachers at that point in your research?
Yeah, I look at that because we involve the teachers when we implement, they realize that it is ground. It is like they have daily in their daily the problems that they got in their daily life, and they felt that the workshop was useful for them, and after the workshops they want to actually change the problems, the challenges that they have relating to their belief, identity, and missions. So, yeah, I think most of the participants enjoyed the workshop, and I think we think that the workshop can be used to other participants, to other teachers.
Nice, thank you. I give the word back to the prorector.
Thank you very much, Professor Kester, for your opposition. Now we come to the following opponent, who is also a member of the assessment committee. That's Dr. Verheggen. She's the former program director of the Bachelor International Track in Medicine in the University of Maastricht, and she's online. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Prorector. Dear candidate, I would like to congratulate you and your supervisors on the accomplishment of this PhD thesis. I think it's a very interesting piece of work of high value for all medical schools in Indonesia that are using PBL in their curriculum. But not only the medical schools in Indonesia can profit from your research, also for other medical schools going through a major change in their curriculum and in the way of teaching and learning, I think your research is of importance. And this also concerns my first question. As you know, Maastricht Medical School has practiced problem-based learning since 1974. And all our staff members are familiar with student-centered education. So in our faculty development program, we teach our staff about contextual, constructive, collaborative, and self-directed learning, as you know, the CCCS principles. However, Maastricht Medical School is now in the phase of moving towards a new medical curriculum, which even a newer way of teaching and learning. It is still based on the CCCS principles, but there are three big changes that I would like to share with you. So the curriculum is even more student-centered and even less opportunities for the staff to teach. For example, no more lectures, sometimes an expert meeting where students can ask questions. And students have to practice even more collaborative learning and also self-regulated learning. And the task of the tutors is to make the students as teacher independent as possible while they progress through the curriculum. And the third big change, and I will repeat the changes if necessary, students have to develop 21 first century skills. So debating, organizing, and critical thinking. Now, if you look at your PhD thesis and your work concerning teacher awareness of student-centeredness and your faculty development program that you have researched, for your staff to move towards a more student-centered curriculum, I'm now going to ask you for advice for us, for our new medical schools. How can we improve teacher awareness, and what should our faculty development program look like for our staff members in this super new student-centered medical curriculum? Can you share some of your ideas, some do's and don'ts? And that would be my first question. So let me summarize. Basically, my question is, Maastricht is going towards a curriculum which is more student-centered than ever. So also our tutors are a bit afraid of this, and we have to prepare them. Looking at your work, what should we do? What should we not do? Can you give us some advice?
Thank you, esteemed opponents, for your compliments and questions. Well, for the first questions related to my suggestions to the advisors in my schools, right? Related to the improvements of the student-centeredness of our teachers. Yeah, I will give the faculty leaders about the problem that we have related to the PBL implementations, not only from the teachers, the students' side, but also from the teachers' view, that we have problems to implement problem-based learning. And from these points, I will also give the examples of the problems, not only for the teachers' competencies, because we always conduct teachers' training for our teachers, and make refreshing meetings about the PBL implementations. But the problem also about their inner aspects, yes, about the perceptions of teachers that they believe PBL is not fit for Indonesian context. It is not good for our teachers that they accustomed to teacher-centered during their secondary schools, to implement PBL that they're different from what they have done. So
may I interrupt? So I understand that you say, if we do this in Maastricht in our new curriculum, we really have to take into account that it's something new for the teacher, something different, which was different from what they knew before. This is what you're saying, their inner beliefs, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And then in your introductory talk, you also mentioned something about peer mentoring or tutors doing peer coaching of each other and to help each other out. How could that play a role in our new faculty development program?
Thank you, esteemed opponents. We found that several teachers have high student-centeredness on their inner aspects, and it is good for student-centered behavior. It is good for us to involve them as a role model in our daily practice in PBL tutorial discussion, and also to help sister teachers how to struggle, how to solve the problems that they have from mentorings and coachings. And I think it is good in our culture, for example, to look at their peer as role models. Maybe they are not only old senior teachers, but also for their almost similar age or levels.
Okay. Thank you. So you're saying we should both in Indonesia, but also in Maastricht for our new curriculum, use the experienced tutors to guide our new tutors in acquiring these skills. This is what I understand from your answer. I have one small other question, but I'm looking at the prorector if that's allowed.
I'm afraid,
or we should proceed.
I'm afraid,
time is up.
Dr. Veggen, there's no much time, otherwise we have to.
Second round.
Yeah, thank you very much for your opposition. Then we come to the following opponent, who's also a member of the assessment committee. That's Dr. Loosveld. She's assistant professor in the University of Maastricht.
Dear candidate, thank you for your inspiring dissertation, presenting a coherent and a well-structured contribution to our field of faculty development within problem-based learning curricula. Congratulations to you, but also to your team for offering us both a conceptual advancement, but also a practical tool to further understand and support the development of our student-centered teaching perspectives. I think your thesis highlights the importance of aligning faculty development with teachers' individual perspectives, which are including, as you explained, their beliefs, their identities, and their sense of mission. And I would like to invite you in a second to apply these insights into two hypothetical educators that I'm bringing into the room, who both have different teaching orientations and levels of reflection. So I will first describe the teacher, and then I'll be asking my question about how you could tailor faculty development for that individual teacher. So the first teacher, the first persona that I have with me is Dr. Hassan, who has a competence-level way of reflecting and a teacher-centered orientation of teaching. And Dr. Hassan is a junior lecturer in a hybrid medical curriculum, and he sees teaching as a responsibility that he must fulfill correctly. And he believes that it is his role to really ensure that the students receive clear instructions and get structured knowledge from him. He often therefore prepares very extensive PowerPoint presentations and lectures, and sometimes he actually also worries a little bit that the students might not get the right answers if he would only do small group discussions. And when he is reflecting on his teaching, he often focuses on his own teaching performance, on whether he is actually doing it right. And he therefore seeks tools and maybe checklists to improve his instructional delivery. So if I were to summarize his persona, I could maybe say, well, Dr. Hassan has this core reflection focus on the level of his competencies, and he is predominantly teacher-centered. So if you were to design a faculty development that is tailored especially to Dr. Hassan, what kind of support or content or format would you propose, considering his reflection levels and his orientation towards teaching?
Thank you, esteemed opponent, for your compliment and questions. But I'm so sorry. May you repeat for the first cases, the first persons?
Of course.
Yeah.
So we have a teacher who says, well, I actually prefer to give lectures because if I would just set the students apart in small groups, I don't really know what they're doing, and I think it may be better if I am the one presenting the knowledge to them. But on the same side, as a teacher, I'm not really sure whether I am doing it right. So I, as a teacher, need a little bit of help with that. How could you help this teacher?
Yeah, thank you, esteemed opponent. Regarding about the teachers that would like to give lectures, I think if we compare refer to the 6 onion models, maybe there are several reasons for them. For example, if they think that students couldn't search for more resources by themselves independently, and also they believe that their identity as a subject matter expert, for example, they tend to use lectures. They believe that students cannot get much information or knowledge if they just learn by themselves. Mm-hmm. So they tend to do the lectures. So I think we have to improve because it is not related to our curriculum's goals. Mm-hmm. That we have to train students search knowledge by themselves, their needs by themselves. So from these moments, we can give them reflections. What the negative and the positive if they just give the lectures for their students, and what our goals of our curriculums. And the second, maybe for the teachers that I think it's related to uncertainty, right? That they do not know whether what students get is true or not with the multi perceptions that they got from their discussions. I think it is the characters of the strongly in our culture, right? Strong hierarchical culture. So that's why they will need more researchers or depend on their senior or their teachers to get the truth information from their learning. So I think we will give, like our have done to do the reflections, that we have to train our students. They have ability to do their self-directed learning. From the Janaka studies, we found that over the years of the students, it can be developed. Maybe for the first year students, they need guidance how to do how to search the sources, and then over the years they can improve their ability or their skill to search.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. I think it's a great idea to also include not only the teachers but also the students in this training offer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Loosveld, for your opposition. We come now to the following opponent, that's Dr. Verstegen. She's Associate Professor at the University of Maastricht, and today she has also accepted the role of Secretary of this committee, for which I am very grateful.
Thank you, Pro-Rector. First of all, I would like to add my congratulations for this thesis to you and your team. And I would like to connect my question to your proposition 7. So I would like to ask one of the paronyms to come and read proposition 7.
Proposition 7 is teaching and learning are reciprocal. I teach and guide my students, and they teach and guide me, by Van der Voort, 2020.
This is something I really recognize, and it happens to me as well. So my question to you is, what have you learned from your students, and how can you use it in the faculty development?
Thank you, esteemed opponents, for the compliment and questions. I think regarding to the number 7 of my propositions, I think it is inspired from the missions of teachers. We have to improve our teaching from the feedback all of the stakeholders, for example, not only from the peers, but also from our students. So we have to learn from the the experience, the situation that we face, but we also need feedback from students, what they need from us as teachers, not only from our perspective by ourselves.
And do you have some examples of feedback from students that you have used?
Yeah, in our procedures in our PBL is after we finish one sessions of the tutorial sessions, we ask students to give their feedback for what they have done and what they need to improve from the discussion at the day. So for the next, they will give some suggestions also, and sometimes they give feedback for the tutors. For example, okay, you just silence. I do not know what I said is true or not. Sometimes you need to give feedback to our opinions, our ideas that the students said about it. So I think it is the input for our.
Yeah, so if the students say, if you give us no guidance, if you don't even give us insight in whether we are doing well or not, it's too difficult. When I listen to you talking about this, I am wondering, it's almost like you could write a PBL case to train your faculty. Do you think you could use problem-based learning to train your faculty, and what would that look like?
Yeah, we use the principles of PBL actually in our faculty development sessions, such as we give them the vignettes that we got from our third study, the situation that encourage and discourage them, and we give them 2 examples of the encourage and discourage for each of the aspects, and we ask them what their opinions about the both of the cases, and if they thought that there's the teacher-centeredness, what you will do for improving the situations or the teachers to move from teacher-centered to student-centered. So we give them the cases, and they discuss in small group discussions.
So it's like a mini form, because the workshop is only a couple of hours, right?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Workshop.
And if you would do a long-term development program, would you consider doing the same form of PBL with the teachers as you do with your students? With problems and going and study and coming back and presenting? No,
in our suggestions, in our books, thesis, we actually want to make a longitudinal faculty development, of course, and that the teachers learn from other teachers, like peer coaching or mentoring, to guide them, to inform them, and from feedback from our students also can be get from their daily practice to improve their behavior, to get evaluations, and then we think that we can make a formal, continuing formal faculty developments that we have done before, to remind them to reflect what they have done as an evaluation and to refresh what they get before.
To repeat, yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard you say something very interesting. You said we asked them to bring in their own experiences.
Yeah.
So maybe also feedback that they got from their students.
Yeah.
And what is the most occurring feedback that students give to tutors in your context?
Yeah, for the students that we got, we know what's the
You may finish your answer. You may also say enough is enough.
yeah, just a little, yeah, to give them to balance what the students feel and what the students perceive, because it is the inner aspect of the teachers related to the inner aspect of teachers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Verstegen, for your opposition. Dear candidate, Mr. Leatemia, the time appointed for the defense of your thesis has passed, and the degree committee will now withdraw to discuss the quality of your thesis and the way you defended it. And I request that you and your company on site and online await the results of our deliberations and our return to this room. And with that, I suspend.
All right, please.
The PhD defense has now ended. The degree committee will debate the candidate's performance behind closed doors. This process usually takes about 10 minutes.
Long road to the south side, 7 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like. My goals only getting clearer. East side to the west side, no place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. On the line, I know you know that I can't read your mind. Years can't fly by now, don't waste all your time. Cause I'll go the extra mile. Long road to the south side, 7 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like. My goals only getting clearer. East side to the west side, no place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. On the dash, got my laces tied. Long road, I don't waste no time. Break rules because fate decides. With the team and we chase the light. I make a move, fall down, shake it off. I hate to lose, bad branch, break it off. No room for negativity, praise and love. Prepare for deep part cause we're taking off. Take the mileage, traveling so far from home. Gathering knowledge, other connections. I put the time in to get everything I ever hoped for. It's a challenge and we all in. It's a better future that we go for. And even though these nights seem long, I know that I am never on my own. Know you've won the battle once you've grown. South side, 10 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like. My goals only getting clearer. East side to the west side, no place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. Long road to the south side, 10 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like. My goals only getting clearer. East side to the west side, no place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. Years can't fly by now, don't waste all your time. Cause I'll go the extra mile.
I reopen this academic ceremony. Dear candidate, Mr. Leatemia, the degree committee here present has assessed the quality of your thesis and the way you defended it. And in view of its positive verdict and taking into account your previous qualifications, the degree committee has decided to grant you the degree of doctor. Professor Dolmans is authorized to confer upon you this academic distinction in accordance with Dutch university custom. I invite, therefore, her to now take the floor.
All right, please.
Do you promise to work in accordance with the principles of scientific integrity at all times? To be careful and honest, transparent, independent, and responsible?
Yes, I promise.
By the authority vested in us by law and in conformity with the decision of the committee here present, I hereby confer upon you, Lukas Daniel Leatemia, the degree of doctor and grant you all rights attached by custom and law. As evidence of this, I now present you with the degree certificate signed by the rector, the secretary, and the other members of the committee, and affixed with the official seal of the university.
So you can come here. That's easy.
Dear Dr. Leatemia, dear Lukas Daniel, dear Mas Lukas, heartiest congratulations on this magnificent achievement of obtaining your PhD degree. I address you on behalf of our entire supervisory team, but I also want to share my personal reflections as your friend and companion throughout this remarkable PhD journey. I still remember when I encouraged you to pursue your PhD at Maastricht. Well, I must admit, I quite firmly pushed you because of my deep affection for Maastricht University. You had some doubts about whether you could make it, having completed your MHPE from Maastricht sometime earlier, but you knew deep down that it was absolutely the right time. You identified a truly critical issue for Indonesia, that PBL won't work effectively if we don't prepare teachers adequately, especially when their inner perspectives, strongly influenced by hierarchical culture, remain teacher-centered. After working diligently on your proposal, also supported by Professor Jeroen van Marienboer, who became your promoter, you earned your well-deserved admission to the program. The first 3 years were extremely challenging. Academic writing proved difficult, the research methods were demanding. Early meetings with supervisors brought disappointment and tensions. The challenges intensified when you were hospitalized and contracted COVID-19 during the pandemic. I must confess, during those difficult moments, I felt guilty and questioned myself. Was it really a good choice to push you toward this PhD? Should I have encouraged you to take this challenging path? But you showed extraordinary persistence and worked incredibly hard to overcome these obstacles. You took extra courses in English and research methodology. Jeroen patiently guided you step by step through the hard time. Looking back now, I realize it wasn't really me pushing you at all. You yourself possessed tremendously strong motivation to see this through to the end. Your Christian faith and spiritual strength, which have always been such an important part of who you are, clearly sustained you through the most challenging moments. You also receive valuable support from Professor Diantra Sumantri, Janneke Frambach, and Jan van Dalen along the way. I feel I should apologize if I was sometimes impatient during our journey together, but I think you handled it all exceptionally well. Gradually, your dedicated hard work paid off beautifully. Your first 2 publications came together. Then another challenge came when illness took Jeroen from us. Fortunately, Diana Dolmans and Boekje Kompen stepped in, continuing to support you through your 3rd and 4th studies. We remember Jeroen fondly today, deeply grateful for his wisdom and guidance. Your steady progress over the years has been truly impressive. You successfully combined your PhD with your demanding work as a physician, developed and implemented your intervention, made several trips to Maastricht, and maintained remarkable dedication throughout. As an important member of the National Committee of Medical Student Examination, you have exceptionally strong network throughout Indonesia, which proved invaluable for your research. You managed to survey more than 500 medical teachers nationwide. Quite an outstanding achievement in itself. I remember you telling me that sometimes teachers would offer educational advice or even sharp critics instead of just filling out the survey, and you listen to their input carefully. Your work offers a significant contribution to medical education in Indonesia. You developed an innovative workshop focusing on teachers' beliefs, identity, and mission, an area that truly needed attention. When I worked with you during the workshop, I could feel the powerful learning moments among the teachers. It was absolutely wonderful to witness. This represents meaningful progress in our understanding of teacher development. So, Lukas, you have every reason to immensely proud of your accomplishment. During your visits to Maastricht, Diana and Boekje got to know you better. You are genuinely humble and always considerate of others. You enjoyed trips together, shared wonderful meals, and created many delightful moments. Yes, you even generously share your rice cooker with Diana. Even during your last visit in winter with rain, wind, wet snow, and cold weather, you maintained your positive attitude and made the most of your stay. You are also a devoted father to 2 sons, Jovan and Hagan, hello, and loving husband to Dr. Yeti Hutahayan, a neurologist, now pursuing her own doctoral studies. It's truly wonderful that your family is here with you today in Maastricht. Welcome to Maastricht. Though we deeply miss your father and sister who passed away during your PhD journey, we know they would be extremely proud of your achievement, as your mother surely is. Lukas, congratulations on this outstanding accomplishment. You've done truly excellent work, and we are proud to have been part of your PhD journey. We wish you continued success and fulfillment in your career and personal life. With warmest regard, Diana, Boekje, Astrid, and also on behalf of Professor Jeroen van Marienburg.
Thank you, Dr. Cecilio, for a very nice laudation. Dear Dr. Leatemia, Also, on behalf of the University of Maastricht, I congratulate you with the degree you have acquired, and I hope that you can celebrate this important day in your scientific career. I extend my congratulations, of course, to your paranymphs, who have been supporting you so well, and, of course, your supervisors, Professor Dolmans, Dr. Cecido, and Dr. Kompen. Further, I extend my congratulations, of course, to your wife and sons, and further family, friends, and colleagues. I would like to thank the members of the opposition for their work, and of course the PEDEL and the technical support team who made this hybrid ceremony possible. Then we are almost ready to close the ceremony, but I have a few announcements. We are going to make a picture here in the room with the two online opponents on the background, and then we will make a picture on the foot of the stairs, first with you and the paranymphs, and then probably with your wife and sons. So we need a photographer for that. The rest of the audience we will ask to go already to the rafter, to the reception room, and there you will meet the young doctor, and you have the chance to congratulate him after we have entered the room. Having said that, I close the ceremony.
Don't let it fall because dan is het serieus. Ja,